with the concept of the Tao, just in case anyone still has no idea what we're talking about, I feel like nature sometimes can be used as a kind of proxy for it. Do you think that's a fair thing to say?
Yeah, it's kind of like not to be taken literally, but the DNA of the universe, just the nature of things. The Tao is literally translated is the way, which is the way things are, basically. So yeah, you're talking about that essential nature at the root of it all. Both nature as in nature observable on earth, as nature as in just at the nature of all things. Which again is, you can see how it's not a god or as a personality. It has a non-personal energy to it all.
Right. And this idea of it being this kind of mysterious thing at the origin of everything, in your lecture series on Daoism, you talk about there being a similar idea with the Lakota in America, who have this idea of Wakantanka, which you argue is kind of similar to the Tao.
Yeah, in the sense that, the translation of Wakantanka is like, Wakan is both sacred and mysterious, and Tanka means great. So there's the idea that the ultimate of ultimates, the roots of it all, is kind of a sacred mystery. Meaning it's not an atheist thing like saying there is nothing, it's absolute zero, but it's saying there's something there, but it's so beyond the human capability to understand through our minds that you can get glimpses of it, you can get an intuition of it, you can barely kind of get it. And then it's beyond words. It's beyond, in that sense, what our brains are capable of. Which, of course, is very frustrating because we filtered everything in our brains. But it's, I think it's one of the things that many people have had this experience. When you look at like the writings of most mystics across the globe, they all come to the same conclusion that there's something that they are almost touching. They experience it, but they can't put it into words. And they're like, and these you find it in completely different traditions. Whether you talk about, it doesn't even matter what tradition you talk about, you end up often with that same conclusion of the sense of there's something there that's, it's like the veil is lifted for a second, you get a vision of it, and it's gone because it's too much. It's more than we can handle in that sense. And that's something that shows up everywhere. So it makes you think that there's some kind of universal human experience there that is beyond words.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree that it's kind of one of the kind of core spiritual experiences one can have. And I think the Tao Te Ching does a particularly good job of kind of laying it out. And it's this kind of wordless, it feels almost like confrontation with being, and where you've dropped the rational mind and you're, as you say, it feels so close because you are it and it's right here and it's being perceived, but you can't say in words what it is. You can't wrap your mind around it and condense it into your concepts because its existence is, it's kind of funny. Like it's before one has these experiences, it can sound like, well, what are you talking about? But then after it feels very much like, well, obviously existence is bigger than my little words, my little concepts for it.
I mean, even things that are very human, right? Things that are not strange, mystical things like falling in love. It's something that if you break up falling in love rationally, it doesn't make sense. Being in a relationship may make sense. There's a logic, a partnership, a maximizing of resources, psychological needs, all of that stuff makes sense. But the actual falling in love, that emotional, it's like, what? Why? What's the logic to that? Why do you fall in love with this person and not the next one? There's something there that really good luck if you try to break it down into tiny little rational concepts. It doesn't work that way.
Right. And you mentioned that in the kind of Taoist view, there can still be gods, but they're kind of humbled. They're put in this position where they're secondary to the Tao, right? The Tao is the mother of them, and that they're kind of like powerful spirits. And is it right that does Taoism kind of come out of like Chinese kind of shamanic and animistic traditions?
100%. All of Chinese traditions were shamanic and animistic in nature, and Daoism is definitely an extension of it. I mean, in a way, Daoism is like a philosophical form of a particular type of animism. But that's definitely the worldview where it comes from. Even things that have nothing to do with it, like Confucianism that emerged as a purely secular philosophy, eventually it does get merged with Chinese animism and it does get practiced almost in a religious way. So animism was really kind of at the matrix of all kind of Chinese concepts.